new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
And welcome to The Shift, the podcast that aims to tell the no-holds-barred truth about being a woman post-40. Created and hosted by me, writer and broadcaster Sam Baker. My guest today is the award-winning comedian and podcaster Helen Thorn. The co-creator of the comedy duo Scummy Mummies, Helen travels the UK, performing in a gold catsuit, which might scream confidence to you, but her books tell a slightly different story. She's the best-selling author of Get Divorced, Be Happy, and How to Face Big Change and Come Back Stronger, which harness her trademark hope, humour and honesty to look at what it takes to go from a broken mess living on booze, fags and cream eggs to a marathon running whiz. Or, as she puts it, how to bounce back from life's shittest moments.
You know, the people I love now, I really love. And, you know, I'm not pretending to be anything but myself because I've realised I'm okay. That's another brilliant thing about going through terrible stuff. You do get to know your own strengths. You do get to know your friends better. You find the things that keep you alive.
Helen joined me to mess around, frankly. But when she wasn't, or we weren't, she told me the crazy, horrifying story of surviving her divorce. And honestly, if you think your ex is a bastard, you ain't seen nothing yet. We also discussed the cult of the hopeless man, shaking off the cringe cloak of embarrassment, the joy of growing your own future, learning to celebrate the small wins, losing those 30-something life blinkers, distinguishing peace from boredom, and why peak midlife shit is where the magic happens. Did you see that thing that was been doing the rounds on social media of your pet's Bridgerton name?
No. Oh, I like
let's try and remember it now. I don't think I screen grabbed it. It was Lord or Lady.
Yes.
Then their name. No, hang on. Lord or Lady. Google.
Because we call Fozzie Sir Fossington, and that's who he has been, Fossington. Or my partner, who's Spanish, calls him Foswaldo. So he's got either an English royalty name or a Spanish iteration. And Tigger gets called Tiggington or Sir Tiggerton or something like that. So I think, you have to have like 5 different names for your cat. I think that's compulsory, isn't it?
Oh, call them ridiculous things is what, right? And I've got to find it. It is so good. So it's Lord or Lady, then your pet's name, then your pet's favourite food plus ton of breed.
Oh, so it would be like Fozzie Hampton of British short hair.
Yeah, Lord Fuzzy. So mine would be Lord Sausage Cluckton of Mog. It's like, I think you're being a bad influence. I'm never normally this ridiculous.
Oh, no, you've got to be silly. Being silly is my favourite thing. Oh, being silly is the essence of goodness. It's like medicine. I love it. It's lucky that's my job.
Are you sillier now? Have you got sillier as you've got older?
I think so, absolutely. And I think that comes with giving less fucks and also going through horrific things. I'm like, I just want to laugh all the time and be ridiculous. What's the worst that can happen? And like embarrassing my teenagers. That's and doing silly dances. Oh, I love it. It's just joyful. I think, I'm a bit more of a joy seeker now. And I haven't got the the cloak of embarrassment that you have when you're in your 20s, and the cringe coats that we protect ourselves with. So I kind of, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I can't remember. I think it might be Donna Ashworth, the poet, who said to me, basically she feels like she just has to go through the cringe. The cringe is that you have to cross the cringe.
Yes.
Every time before you can literally get to the other side. Were you like a silly, funny kid?
I was a bit of a show off because I'm one of 5 children and my dad is a vicar. So growing up in the vicarage, I think anything where it's one way or the other, so it could be super serious, you'd get the giggles in church, and everything was a bit naughty. And I loved, I was in choirs and I was in debate teams and I was in anything that got me on the stage, I think. Yeah. So it's no wonder I've ended up where I am. But yeah, and we were all sort of vying for attention. I think coming from a big family, you just want to, beat your fist on the table going, look at me.
Where were you in the sibling pecking order?
I'm number 4 of 5. So my parents had 3 kids and then they had a big break, like this big 8-year gap, and then kind of started again. And then it was me and my little brother, Henry. So I've got a older brother who's 14 years older than me, and a sister 11, and another brother who's 8 years older. So there's sort of almost versions 1 and 2 of the family in a way. So I'm sort of like a quasi older sister to my little brother as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, we just had lovely Catherine Carr on the podcast, who's done the book about siblings, and I find that so fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
And the older sister thing, and yeah. I've got an older daughter and a son, and there's something about having a, and I don't want to use the word bossy, strong-willed older daughter. She's the boss of the whole family. She's the boss of me.
You got to be kind of both. So you were younger, kind of like in the middle somewhere. So you could have vanished, but you were also got to be the older sister because of the big gap.
Yes, because the older kids all went off to uni So for most of my life, I don't have any memories of living with my older brother because he was 14 years older, and then he went off to uni, I think, when he was about 16 and a half or something, and the others. So I only really remember growing up with my little brother, but I had these siblings who kind of felt like cousins for a long time until we were adults and we could have that kind of adult conversation. We didn't have many shared holidays and things like that because they'd all, being older teens, they didn't want to hang out with their dorky younger siblings. They were too busy being at uni.
I think that's really interesting because you were one of loads, but also you weren't.
Yes, I was very much in the, nuclear family unit. And then, but I had these but it was like having a second mum because my sister, being 11 years older, like when I was in my teens, she was in her mid-20s. So it was really cool. She taught me about all the things and snuck me into pubs and stuff like that and did my hair. She gelled my hair and gave me a Levi's denim jacket, and I felt very cool. So, yeah.
Well, that was just like that's perfect because that's like having like a grown up, big sister that you can talk to about stuff.
Yeah, definitely. She didn't have kids and she's 11 years older than me. She looks younger than me now. Bastard. She looks so young.
And you think that's because she didn't have kids?
That's what she tells me.
You're looking great, though. Not that it's relevant, but you are.
No, not that. No, exactly right. That's fine. But she's got magnificent skin and magnificent boobs. So she's had a lot more sleep than I have. I think that might have contributed to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I haven't had kids, so I can't tell you, but I'm pretty sure you know how grief can age you. I'm sure kids can too.
Yes. I think those are the things. I think if you've had some hard times, absolutely. And I've had a bit of everything. So yeah, I just find a very strong glasses is like Botox. It just sort of blurs out the lines. That's what I'm for. Don't want any needles in my face.
No, both working that. And it's like whenever I get pissed off with the fact that my eyesight's become crap as I've got older, and I think I have to occasionally think about having laser surgery, and then I can think, well, I quite like the glasses though. Because it stops my face being so beige. Yeah, no, I'm the same. I'm a very pale lady. Yes, I'm a very pale lady. Even though I'm Aussie and I probably spent far too much time in the sun as a child, now I'm very sun avoidant and like a strong SPF and a hat. So I think
I like a strong glass. And I just buy the ones off like Amazon in the 3-packs. I've just got the readers, which I know I need a varifocal, but I'm a reluctant varifocal wearer.
I won't bore the listeners with, they've probably heard me moaning on about varifocals before. I hated them because you still needed computer glasses and reading glasses and stuff, because the varifocals, they do everything but nothing.
Yes. Too many things. Yes.
Anyway, God, how old are we? And you're not even anywhere near as old as me. So, how old are you? 47 now?
47,
46.
exactly right. 47. Yeah.
47.
I'm in 78, baby. Yeah.
And looking fantastic. And completely been through the shit.
Yeah. A bit of stuff.
Bounced out the others, a bit of stuff. But that's one of the things I like about just like being thrown into a conversation with other women in midlife. Because whatever you have or haven't done, everybody's been through some shit.
We've all got really big, full handbags of shit, and they're all kind of full, but they all have different bits. And it's a bit like playing, what's that game where you have to match the things on the circle? You know that there's going to be at least one overlap. This is perimenopause in its best. I can't even think of the snap game. Anyway, you're always going to find something that matches in your bags, your handbag of shit.
Yes. Well, I was thinking that when I was reading your really excellent book, How to Face Big Change and Come Back Stronger. Crucially, come back stronger. I was thinking, even if the listeners haven't, we'll talk about your ex in a minute, haven't been through a divorce like you've been through, or haven't, their parents haven't died yet, or whatever, there's still the shit is still the same.
Yeah.
It's different, but it's the same.
Yeah. And we're in this middly bit of shit, which is can be so awful, but so brilliant at the same time. And that's why I think it's kind of, this is when the magic happens, because you're seeing the absolute darkness, and then you're seeing light in its brilliance. You're seeing friendships in its absolute peak. You're seeing and it's a lot, and we're really tired, but it's exciting and juicy, and it's technicolor. It's real. It's the full strength. It's like drinking squash neat.
Oh, you know how to live, Helen. I'll be coming around yours for my squash.
Oh, hello. Robinson's on the rocks.
But it is, isn't it? It's like when you get on to the other side, or on the way to the other side, if you like, it is the opposite of what you're told to expect. It's the opposite of the beige and the invisibility. Definitely felt like that for me in my mid-40s. It just did feel like it was all one big shade of grey. I think Naga Munchetty described it as living under a veil. And I think that is really how it felt. But once you get out the other side, it is technicolor, and you start to see and be seen by people and things, although things can't see you, but you know what I mean. You wouldn't have even noticed before. I mean, all those other women and what they're going through being a case in point.
Yeah, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I think I was a bit more self-obsessed in my 20s and didn't open myself up and outwards because I was so busy, I don't know, focusing on who I wanted to be and in such a hurry to be married and do all the right things and line up my ducks. And now all the ducks are everywhere and it's a mess, but there's a clearing, and there's this sort of, I do love that, the people I love now, I really love. And, I'm not pretending to be anything but myself, because I've realized I'm okay. And I think that's another brilliant thing about going through terrible stuff, is that, you do get to know your own strength. You do get to know your friends better. And you find the things that keep you alive, don't you? In every sense of the word. So I think that's a real prize. And it does feel like you've unlocked a new level in the computer game that's really good.
That is a really good way of putting it, because it's so funny you say that, though, about your 20s, because I was reading, we did it for the Shift Book Club, a book called The Wilderness by Angela Flournoy, and it's about basically 4 Black women going from 20 to 40, from 2008 to 2027. And at one point, one of the characters is in her mid-30s and she says, when did my life get so small? But she doesn't just mean the fact that it's her and the baby and the nappies and nothing else, although she does mean that. She also means like the ambition and the mind and, her mind and her goals. And I think I really feel like in my 20s and 30s, I was so mono about ticking the boxes and the ambition and climbing the ladder and all of that. It was quite, self-obsessed, living in a much smaller world in a weird way.
Yeah, there was a real, I don't know, blinkers, that sort of, like that, like when you play 10-pin bowling and you put up the buffers so you can't, like it is narrow, isn't it? It's essentially narrow because there is a fear of failing. There is a fear of looking like you haven't got it together or you're on the right path. And then you just want to be free and be a bit of a crazy cat lady. And that's heaps better.
Yeah, I guess it's like once the worst or something that would approximate to the worst has happened, it's like, well.
It's kind of freeing in a way. It's kind of, well, in every way, it is really freeing. And I think, and it's all those sort of cliches of like it is not the making of you, but like all the things that you thought were going to be the worst things turn out that they get you through to the best things.
Yeah, we're sounding so Pollyanna, aren't we? Tell us about...
I'm not recommending divorce. It feels like you just have a really shit divorce. It'll all be, sunshine and roses. Not at all.
Although, with the benefit of hindsight, would you go back and do any of it differently?
I don't think I want to because I really like where I am now, and it's really hard because I'm like, I don't want anything right now to be anything different. And I never say I'm happy now because my husband was an absolute bastard and was, had a massive affair and was terrible. It's about the choices I made after the shit thing. Yeah, I learned so much from facing and being in that really dark place. So I'm grateful that I did kind of break and burn out a bit because that's where I really had to dig a bit deeper and unlock something in myself that I didn't know I had. Being sad is awful and being cheated on is awful and all those sort of things. But yeah, I don't think, I mean, I regret some of the dating options.
Yeah.
Some of them.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes. Maybe shouldn't have done that as much. But, again, I kissed a lot of frogs.
You didn't only kiss them, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Not that I think kissing them is preferable. But tell us a bit about the shit thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So 2020 was a bit of a big year for everyone, but it just happened to coincide with me finding out my partner husband of 22 years had been having an affair for 4 years. And so it was March 2020, I found a love letter. And on the back of the envelope was the name that I recognized because it was a woman who'd been trolling me. She was like my internet troll. And so my blood ran cold. I was like, oh my God, that's that woman from Canada who's been slagging me off on the internet. And when I opened the letter, it was this love letter saying, there'd been an affair for many years and he was the love of her life and everything. And so I instantly knew this relationship, the father of my children, was over. And then I was like, now what? And he came home 4 years and he found her on the internet. She was from Canada and they'd been having this affair and all these work trips that I thought were work trips were not. And there was a secret bank account and she'd stalked me at a gig, it was like an episode of Black Mirror. And because I just remember 2 years before I found out about the affair, a woman had come to a show, Ellie and I did Scummy Mummy's gig at the South Bank in London. And a woman put up her hand and said, I've come from Canada. And she waited for us backstage and said, oh, I've listened to all your podcasts. I've based my whole trip to the UK meeting you, had a photo with me. And then I went back home and I said, oh my God, to my husband, this woman from Canada came to the show. Isn't this amazing? Did a post about it on social media. And then, 2 years later, when I saw her name and she was from Canada, I went, oh, that was her. And my blood, I just dropped to the floor. Psycho. So the weirdest thing about going through an affair, I mean, there's many weird things really, is that this woman knew everything about me, our family, all the things. I had no idea for 4 years that I was being stalked. And when I found out who she was following like 150 of my friends, my hairdresser, my agent, festivals we'd been to. Like, this woman knew so much about me and obviously had met me and hugged me 2 years prior. It was really, really weird. And when I wrote the first book, all that bit was edited out of the book by the lawyers. So I can talk about it now on podcast, but I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And I was like, this is insane. This is madness. And so it really completely shook me and destroyed me, because I was like, everything's a lie. And yeah, so that was really, really, really hard to kind of pull myself back together. And it was just the cruelty that these two people, my husband and this woman from Canada, were in it, somehow had this, relationship, and he would go off, on these holidays and stuff. When I was at the Edinburgh Fringe, he went away on this work conference to Prague, and she was there, and all sorts of things. So it was a really hard time. In a nutshell, not so great.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
I just have to ask about the selfie, because that's just, do you think she took the selfie so you would take it home and show your husband, and it would like freak your husband into thinking that maybe, try to push him to do something?
Yeah, I don't know. I think by her stalking me and the trolling, she really wanted me to know who she was. Like, I could recognize her name. Yeah, it did feel very strange that she wanted to meet me and have the selfie and everything like that. That was very, very, very odd. So I think it was a pretty hard time. And then, sorry, I'm laughing. And then in the July, I found out about March.
It's like a funeral thing, isn't it?
Yeah, she faked her own death to get back at him in the July after
No, you're joking. You're making that up.
No, that actually happened.
So was he with her then?
No, that all blew up. By then, like, it had all ended, and he had a new partner.
So you dumped him because of that, reasonably, and then he didn't even end up with her.
No. She stayed in Canada, and also it was, what's it called? It was COVID, and like a lot of these men, he got a new girlfriend pretty soon afterwards. That was that. But it was like living in Black Mirror, and it is a strange thing to go through, to know that everything about you was known about, by someone else that I didn't. 4 years is a long time. Had a lot of therapy.
Did some work.
Did some talking. Dug pretty deep. But it was an extraordinary time. And, obviously I did all the things in terms of, that's when I really got into smoking. When the kids went to their dad's every second weekend, really got into my wine, drinks. And then, and had my sexual explosion in the dating scene, because I think lots of women who I've talked to after going through this, it's that you just wanted to feel alive. There was this rebelliousness about, I was such a good girl, I was the vicar's daughter. I was, met my husband when I was 19. I thought I was doing all the right things, and where did that lead me? Tried to love this man as much as I could. And also in that 4 years, we did 18 months of couples counselling once a week. Again, I'm laughing about it now. This is my coping mechanism. Yeah, it didn't come up, the fact he was having an affair during that time. And he said afterwards, he was like, I said, why didn't you tell me? There was an opportunity to tell me you were having an affair. And he said, I just wasn't asked the right questions.
Oh, so it's nothing to do with him?
No, it was really the therapist. extraordinary. I mean, it made it really easy to leave him, I think.
Yeah, he didn't make it hard. But so with the benefit of hindsight now, because it's like 6 years, how was the marriage for you before that?
Yeah. So this is really interesting because I think in the first year after the divorce, I was like, oh my God, it was all his fault. He's a bastard. And it was a lot of it. But I really recognize, even in the 4 years of the affair, but also leading up to it, how much bad behavior I just absorbed, how much I ignored massive red flags and just was willing on the marriage, that I just thought if I could just be a bit kinder, if I loved him a bit more, if I did spontaneous candlelit roast chickens, if I don't know, like all these things. And I think, and it was all very well intended, but I was such a doormat and I was so much shrinking myself for him, for love, for a sense of value, a sense of worth, to make it happen for both me, both my children, both to the external world, that I could make a marriage work, that I chose the right person, that it was going to be okay. And even a month before I found out about the affair, I remember hugging him in bed, and lots of people were getting divorced at that time for some reason. And I said, I never want to get divorced. Promise me we'll never get divorced. And he did. And I must have known, there must have been something there. The fact we had gone through couples counselling, because he was a bit distant, and then he started getting fitter and losing weight. And again, now that I've read about divorce, it's like all the signs were there, Sam. They were all there, but I just didn't know. And I have to be compassionate to the kind of person that I was. And I know other women wouldn't have put up with his shit, but I did.
Yeah, but lots would as well, I
Yeah,
think. And also, if you've
exactly.
been with someone 20 years...
It is a bit the Kylie song, Better the Devil You Know. It was like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't know that Kylie song is complete shit until you get out the other side and realise you're way better off without that devil.
Yes, exactly. She lied.
Oh, Kylie, you let us down.
Oh dear, never
Let
mind.
us down. So how had he, because Scummy Mummies had got really taken off, hadn't it? How had he coped with that?
Not very well. Not very well at all.
Surprised me.
Yes. And so many times affairs have happened when the woman has got a little bit of independence and money and maybe slightly more successful than the man. And I think that really stung. And when I asked him about the affair, maybe tell me why it happened, he said, well, you had Ellie, which is the other scummy mummy. And I said,
yeah, your
wasn't
friend.
fucking her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really into that on tour. We do like a curry after the show, but it sort of ends there. We'll have a couple of pints, but that's about it. And I think it was that thing, is that he couldn't handle it. And I remember him saying in therapy, you walk into a room and you light up the room and everyone wants to talk to you and no one wants to talk to me. And I remember feeling guilty about that. Like, oh, sorry. Am I hogging the attention, or am I just being myself? So that I think, and I remember interviewing someone from Relate for the first book, actually, for the Get Divorced book. And she said, as soon as contempt has come into a relationship, it's done. As soon as that you conversations, like you do this, you do that, why are you always like that? That is the poison that will instantly, that kills a relationship. And I look back on the past and I think, yeah, that contempt was there. Like if Ellie and I had a really successful show, we might go out for a nice dinner afterwards. And he's like, how come you get to have a nice dinner and I don't? And I would feel bad. I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, but it was just a nice thing that we did because we've done well. So I think, it didn't sit well with his fragile nothing.
No, God, it reminds me exactly of when Maggie Smith, the poet, came on and she was talking about almost exactly the same thing. She wrote that poem that went viral and it all took off and she got a book deal, but feeling bad because, she had work commitments now and I remember her saying about a friend's husband a friend and friend's husband coming to see her on tour and taking a photo of her in the signing queue. And she was like, please don't send that to my husband. It's like, he's meant to be your team.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. When you win, we all win. Like, I think what really grounded me was that Ellie's husband is so nice. He's a really nice guy.
Oh, no fair.
I know. And he's divine. And I think that actually gave me a lot of hope after the divorce as well, because I was like, relationships don't have to feel this hard and bitter and icky. You know, like Ellie's husband, you know, would come to our shows and just he would cry. He was so proud. I remember him coming to see us at the Edinburgh Fringe going, I'm just so proud of you. And I had never experienced that in a relationship before. And I thought, oh. And then, yeah, it was really good to have really good examples of some good men as well, that it didn't have to look like that and that you didn't have to shrink or apologize or dim your light.
Did you have good marriages in your family that you felt you had to live up to?
Well, my parents were married for 60 years, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't model myself on my parents' relationship. In a nutshell, like my mum met my dad when she was 19. So when I was in couples therapy, I kept going, oh yeah, and yeah, that was like my mum. Yep, that was like my mum. So it was those sort of truth bombs. You're like, oh gosh, yes, I'm really just trying to walk down the same path. There were elements that I could hear my mum's voice, especially when I had young children going, oh, you know, or men are just like that, you know, or it's that kind of thing. And that allowed the behavior, or, you know, oh, it's easier for me to do it. That sort of thing. Yeah. I'll do it. Don't worry. He's hopeless. The hopeless man is something I've now put to bed. That is not an excuse. And we are not born like that. We can choose our hopelessness, you know. So I think that, and now I'm in a new relationship now. I've been in a relationship for 3.5 years. I'm really grateful I've had a second go at it, because I think I would have felt robbed if that was it. And so many times I've had women who've read the book in secret or have listened to the audiobook and said, oh, I'm thinking about leaving my husband, should I? And often I think they just want me to say yes, but because I'm a sort of anonymous person outside, they just want that final push that they know permission. That they should go. Yeah, the permission, you're right. Yeah. So I used to say, oh no, just ask a friend, but now I just go, do it, just do it. I like to think, because my dad's a vicar, and I said, Dad, your job was to get people married. My job is now to get people divorced. That's the legacy.
Sounds fair. But how did you get from, obviously I'm like whistle stop touring through this, but so how did you get from the shock and the grief and the presumably, well, I know because I've read the book, you know, feeling absolutely shit about yourself and everything, to a point where you could let yourself not just have another relationship as opposed to looking for validation through Tinder, but let that relationship start to let it into your wider life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And that was one of the hardest things, because especially for the first couple of years when I was, you know, pretty hungry.
That's the exact word, though. You were hungry.
Yeah. And I was. And the first time I was made to feel desired, you know, when someone, you know, I can only think of a handful of times in the 22 years I was with my ex-husband that he called me beautiful or made me feel beautiful or desired. And I remember getting that first taste of someone saying, oh my God, you're fucking sexy. And I was like, oh, this is a whole new drug I didn't know I liked. So I remember that, and that was addictive. And also the transaction, like a computer game, like going, oh, wow, I like that one. Match, you know, set a date. Oh, yes, please. All of that. And that was good. But then it was the emptiness, then going, oh, but I'm not someone's number one. And I never was in my marriage, I don't think. And I think that's when, you know, after about 2 or 3 years, I was like, it would be really nice to be someone's number one and feel that. And I'm not sure, I probably was subconsciously looking for a boyfriend. I had like many men on the go. I have like not a literal spreadsheet, but sort of one in my mind to go, right, I can see that one on a Friday and that one on a Saturday, maybe that one on a Sunday afternoon. But then, yeah, I matched with this lovely Spanish man, and he happened to live 10 minutes walk away. And I'd always dated men at least 5 miles away or 6 miles away because I didn't want to bump into them in the supermarket. But I was like, I'll try this one. And so, yeah, met my partner at the pub in between our houses. And honestly, the first minute I saw him, I was like, oh God, this is completely different. He's nice. He's got kind eyes. He's really sweet. He was just lovely. And text me in the morning. There were no games. What? There wasn't that like, oh, I have to wait 3 days and then be really aloof. He was just sweet. And I was just sort of myself. And he said it was cool that I had a comedy career. He didn't mind that I had children, all these sort of things. And it was just layer by layer, just me not pretending that I didn't want love and commitment, going, oh, actually, it would be really nice to plan something 3 weeks ahead and go to a nice concert together, or, I don't know, it sounds really nannery, but it took a lot to be really vulnerable with him and I guess show my scars, going, I'm going to feel really wobbly about that. And he said, that's okay. And it was just bit by bit, being upfront about the triggers that I have and knowing that they're still in my nervous system, they're still there, they're still present. And then we waited. I said we told each other we loved each other after 6 months. That felt like an eternity because
was that hard to
hard
say that after all that time?
Yeah, and it really meant something. And I'm pretty sure in my first, when I was 19, I probably said I love you on the third day, because you can say I love you, but to say I love you and really mean it, for it to be really raw, really vulnerable from like your bones, is a really big old thing. And especially he'd been through big things. Like he'd lost his mum when he was 12, and he'd lost his dad the year before we met, and he'd had a brain tumor in his 20s. So he himself had walked over some pretty hot coals. And I think we realised that this relationship was kind of a bit precious and golden, and he was a giver. And it's the first time I'd ever been with someone who was equally a sunshine giving person, who was the one who organises the cake at work, who's the friend who organises the yearly get together with all your mates. Like he's, and that whole thing of opposites attract. I don't know, like it was really nice to feel comfortable in being a gushy person who says, I love you maybe about 50 to 60 times a day, and just to be gloriously yourself and be loved for that. That was sort of my just as you are, Bridget Jones. So it was really nice. But I know it's terribly frightening for people to do that. And a lot of women who write to me and get in touch saying, I just don't want to be hurt again. And that wall is up. And that's a really natural feeling. So, but I just also knew that I didn't want to miss out on the good stuff. Like I just thought the risk is worth it for the chance to feel something even more wonderful. So, yeah, but it's not easy. It's not easy. And I still get these moments, like I write about it in the book, about I was painting my staircase yellow because why not, and it's my house, I can do what I like, thank you, and painting the staircase, and I spilled some yellow paint, and I went, oh my God, he's going to be really angry when he comes home. This is me thinking about my ex-husband, and this is years after he left, and I had this weird moment. I thought, this is in my nervous system. This is, this sort of weird electrical pulse to be, but it was sometimes they're kind of good reminders about like, oh no, you've been through some shit. It's there. And, calm down. It's all right. It's okay. But I wanted to write about that stuff in the book because I thought so many times people said, oh, you look like you're doing so well. You've really got over your divorce. And I thought, you don't really get over anything. It's all kind of woven into you like a tapestry, and there's knots and there's new bits, but you keep adding to it, but it doesn't go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's like getting over things is a really big thing, isn't it? It's like we all want that quick fix, and we want to know that you got over it and you put it away and it's all tidy and we don't have to think about it anymore. But one of the things that I was really thinking when I was reading the book, the second book, How to Face Big Change, was the way you are so obviously all of the things that have happened to you, your husband rebuilding yourself and your body and your confidence and your trust after that, then losing your mum. All of those things are like the building. I mean, it's such a cliche thing to say, but there are the building blocks of who you are now.
Yeah. And I'm really grateful for that. And also grateful for the women who guided me there, and I think that's why when I started writing the book, I thought I need all these women who have helped me, but plus more. Like writing the book was a choose your own adventure because I'd like interview a psychotherapist and you go, oh, you should talk to this person. Or I'd be out talking about the book and they say, I've got a friend. And so, that's how I live my life, is that I have these great connections with women and then they go, oh, you should have her on the podcast. And just allowing myself to be open to these women who've helped me and listening and not going, I know what I'm doing. And I think that's been my greatest learning, is to sort of say, I don't know what I'm doing. And I've learned so much from that. Yeah. And I guess it was sort of, I wanted to give that back to people because I do feel really privileged, especially being, and you would understand this, Sam, as a podcaster. I'm like, I just feel so delighted that I get to sit and listen to women's stories and collect it. And that just feels like I've done another like master's or a PhD, because I've just felt I've learned so much from these. Learning from other people's life experiences is delicious. And also it just gives you new pathways and new ways of seeing things. And I think I've become a better friend, and I've been more bolder to ask the questions I was too scared to ask probably in the past, especially in the grief chapter in How to Face Big Change. I really loved interviewing Carrie-Anne Lloyd, and she's written a really beautiful book about grief, and she did 7 years of the Griefcast, exceptional podcast. And I really loved that she said, there is never a time limit on grief. Like after my mum died, I went, oh my God, now I understand. And I went back to friends who I was really absent and I wasn't my best when their parents died. And I thought, tell me about your mum. And I'm really sorry I wasn't there. Here's a cake. And that's okay. And I wanted to kind of tell people about that because, and it's not about shaming anyone. It's just like people want to talk about the person who's passed. People want to keep them alive. And it's okay to go back to say, I didn't know what I was doing, because most of the time nobody does.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
I love the way that I say love, it's not really the right way to talk about it at all, but the way, grief, you frame, and Carrie-Anne does this as well, that you frame the loss of the marriage as grief as well. Grief, loss, it's the same emotion. And it can be, whether you're grieving your mother, which came, was it 3 or 4 years, 4 years later?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. And that was the thing. And I knew she was going to die. And I'd started written that the chapter about my mum was never meant to be in the book. But because she died when I was writing the book, I thought, no, I need to talk about what it's like to go, not down again, like to face another big change. And is going through a big life change any preparation for the next? What do you learn about yourself, your coping mechanisms, your ability to ask for help? And I did want to explain, when I went through my divorce, the first thing I did was grab a massive bottle of wine and was chain smoking. But when mum died, I was like, no, I can face these emotions. I can raw dog these emotions, and it's okay. I will allow myself to crumble, and that will be all right, because I think that's for so many people. They think if I allow myself to be sad, I will never be happy again.
How do you think that learning to cope with the first, I hate to use the word trauma because it's so overused, but the first loss, how did that inform how you coped with the second loss?
I think I was much more quick to ask for help. And I was also much more honest about what I was really feeling, because I think because I had developed such a great trust with my friends, and I think the connections and knew my friends so much more deeply, I think that really helped me. And when people said, "How are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm doing okay." I would say, "I'm really sad," or "I'm really angry today," or "I'm okay." And I think, and I know Ellie and I have talked about this a lot because, in the process of 6 years, I've become much less of a people pleaser. Will always be a people pleaser. But she said, even though she said, "Oh, it was brilliant. When we first met, you just say yes to everything and say, 'What do you want for dinner?' And I'd say, 'Whatever you want.'" She's like, "Yeah, yeah." But she said, actually, our relationship is much stronger because you're like, "No, you say no to things now, and that's okay." And also, the relationship won't crumble. The world won't end. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts I have learned, is that, like, it's okay to, not always put others first, and that, you can put yourself first. It's taken a lot of work, but I've got there, and that's through therapy and through lots of other things, and making mistakes, and knowing that I can fail, but I'm not a failure. Oh, it sounds like I'm not. What's up? I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. We can do that to that. I can fail, but I'm not a failure.
I've completely forgotten what I was going to say.
Sorry. This is me being silly again. This is, I can't talk about anything serious. I have to make light of it.
No, you were sensible for about half an hour.
Yeah.
That's enough to ask of anybody. But I am going to ask you, and this is kind of one of those impossible questions. We talk about this a little bit at the beginning, and you can't, I'm not asking you to say, "Oh yeah, I'm glad that divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me." But I kept wondering when I was reading it, who you would be if it hadn't happened, if you hadn't found the letter.
Yeah, I know, right? And I have often thought of that too. I was being a stand-up comedian, and I had that career, and Ellie and I think would have still done that. So I still would have had those successes, but I may not have written a book. I may not have untapped all the marathon running. I may not have had that big physical crash that I had a year after the divorce, really, after I, turns out you can't drink every day, smoke every day, and live off Deliveroo for a year without that having some kind of impact on your health. So I think I could have just gone along okay. I just don't think I would have experienced this joy, this kind of, and been as courageous. And, I heard this phrase the other day. It's just that through courage comes confidence. And I had confidence on stage, but I think that's because I was playing a persona of a comedian. And now I know what proper, not necessarily happiness is, but contentment, being able to sit still and not being distracted and not funneling my love and emotions into someone who didn't appreciate me. Yeah, I think I would have still been a comedian because I love that. That's in me. But I wouldn't have done all these other bigger, braver things.
I've written down a phrase, growing your own future. And I don't know if it's my phrase or your phrase. I'll happily claim it.
No, I think it's yours. I think that's yours. You take that, Sam. Yeah.
All right, I'll have that. But that really kind of like went to the heart of it for me, because especially if you've been with someone as long as you had, like 19, that's so young. Yeah. You haven't been a grown up on your own.
No.
And then you've got kids, so you're growing their future as well. But can you kind of recall that process of, basically that's when you lose a long-term relationship of any sort, you don't just lose the past, do you? You lose the projected future that you thought you had. What was that like, kind of like building your own?
Yeah, it was frightening. I think that's what I felt most robbed of, because I was like, but we were 5 days off signing a mortgage for, I think, nearly 200 grand for a renovation we had spent 3 years and 15 grand paying an architect for. So the whole time he was having the affair, sorry to go back to it, I'm not bitter. The whole time he was having an affair, we were planning to renovate the house. So he had no intention of telling me.
Thank
no
God
intention.
That didn't.
It was divine intervention.
Yeah.
Divine intervention. So all those plans, literally, there were plans drawn out for a bigger house and a life. So the plans had to get ripped up. And also, just to be incredibly boring, I never had a pension because he was like, you don't need a pension. You don't need anything. I will always look after you. Again, saying these things while he was having an affair. So
you're
all that,
not the first person who said that either.
fucking
I think it's a
awful.
real problem for midlife women.
It really, really is. And so that grief and also for a while, I just felt so lost because I was like, but we were going to do all these things and that roadmap had gone. And I think it was probably about a year before it took to switch from what I'd lost to what I had gained. And it was not a specific day in any way. I think it was just a sunny morning and I woke up going, oh my God, I can do anything. No one's going to criticize me and I don't have to compromise anything. And it was like a serious, and I know it sounds really fucking obvious, but it was just the switch from dark to light going, let's go. This is this life ahead. I remember that really, really well and going, I know it's going to be hard, but, I choose this hard. This is the hard that I choose. Yeah, slowly. And I think, being a single parent just became better and better and better. I love that I, got to parent my way without someone going, oh, why did you do that? All those sort of things. And also the fact that my children were like, you're really strong, Mum. And when we YouTubed how to fix the dishwasher and things like that, and we'd cheer, there were these celebrating the small wins, I think, become a glorious thing after a hard life change as well. You're like, wow, I get to fix the boiler and I get to do this. And also my kids at different points have said, I'm really glad that I've gone through divorce because now I'm going to be really careful about who I pick in the future. And if anything is bad, I'm going to talk to them about that. And I don't want to have an affair and I don't want to do this. And they've had to grow up quite quickly, but also they're really good at talking about their feelings and their emotions. And yeah, so I think there's been some really lovely things. So I think that for me has been really good. And also they're really great teens now that we can speak about things really openly. So yeah, it was a real process of kind of adding rather than things being taken away, because that's what it felt like. Everything had been decimated and taken away. So I think that was it. So, and I also, those moments came before I got into another full-on relationship as well. So it wasn't, my relationship with my partner came after I'd done some pretty significant rebuilding. I was probably more ready and less sort of seeking that validation for someone else to fix me rather than me fixing myself.
Have you changed what, I don't know, a modern family looks like for you?
Yeah, so much. And I feel like that's the success, is that the happiness and the healthiness of that. And, I've been a single mum now for over 6 years. And yeah, I love it. I really love it. And like the fact that my partner lives 10 minutes walk down the road, delightful. Absolutely delightful. Highly recommend.
Do you know what? It's the dream. So you're not going to let him move in?
He'll move in one day, I think. Maybe we've talked about maybe when the kids move out. My partner adores the children and he does stay over occasionally, but my kids still have me to themselves quite a bit of the time. And that's kind of precious as well, that they're in GCSE and A levels, which is bloody awful.
Oh, well, at the same time?
Yeah, they're 2 years apart. So it's the next couple of years are going to be pretty, woo, and they can be a bit feral and a bit awful. There's a lot of swearing in this house. So, it's probably best if my partner doesn't, hear all of it all the time. We can have days where we're all a bit disgusting. And, especially when I was finishing my book, I'd be in my pajamas, they'd be in their pajamas, they'd be doing their study. We'd just sort of meet for snacks and then all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it's been lovely. And I know friends who've got married who don't live together. Like I've got examples of that in the book. We have talked about it. Maybe we'll get married and not live together. And that's cool too. Who doesn't like the party without the the admin?
I think it's the dream, honestly. I think so many people I know say they would quite like to, they don't necessarily want to leave their husband, but they'd quite like to not live with him.
I think it comes down to a lot of not listening to noises that they don't like anymore. If they could minimize the chewing, sneezing, very loud sneezing, ridiculously loud sneezing. And also, could they go somewhere else when they've got a cold? Because a lot of men are very irritating when they're poorly.
Oh, God, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? I had this plan that I was going to ask you all about the mad marathon running, because it is so integral to your what's the word? I don't want to say transformation. I don't want to say recovery. What's the word?
Oh, it's about, I mean, you could say it's part of the journey or I don't know. Journey's awful. I don't know. Yes. So I started marathon running about 18 months after my divorce, and then did one and then did some more. And now next week I'm flying to Cape Town to do my 14th, and it's my 8th World Masters marathon. I don't madness. There's worse things to get into, I think. I really like it. I didn't know I could run very long way or concentrate for that long, but I found it. Yeah, I did 2 years of speaking therapy, and then that time I started taking up running, and I realized that going out for a run or even just going out for a good walk was sort of having a very similar effect to what a really good therapy session had. So it was sort of that. It was sort of part of the mental health kind of thing, and turns out it's quite good, for you other ways. But it was another sort of building block in my confidence and another chance to meet really awesome women, running women. They're great. I love my running community, and I love that. And I think that's what the next book is going to be about, is about how running changes women, not the physical impact, but the mental and well-being impact of running and why it's so important for us.
Yeah, because ultimately, I think like the ultimate thing I took from the book was like, you are the sum of a massive support network of women, aren't you?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just all the bits and bobs that all these wonderful women who have reached out to me and I've reached out to them. That's been the magic. And that's kind of what I wanted the book to feel like, is that like going away for the weekend with some really awesome mates where you laugh and you cry and all those sort of things. And that's when I feel like that's when the magic happens, stomping out in the woods and sharing all your big dark secrets and all that sort of stuff. It's the woo-woo. It's like the gathering of the witches. That's the magic spell. Yeah, and it was really hard to get a title for the book.
It's a great title. It's so Google friendly, honestly.
Excellent. It's hard to kind of encapsulate, 50 women finding their power. That's what I wanted. I wanted some magical words. And also, like, what was really lovely is that everyone was so beautifully honest with me about brilliant stuff. So the hardest bit about writing the book was like I interviewed everyone for about an hour and a half and trying to find the nugget. I think that's why it took 2.5 years, because I had just, so much stuff that I wanted to encapsulate. But it got there in the end. Thank you, editors.
I really think it's like you were touching on earlier about being a podcaster and the massive privilege of getting to interview women, interesting women, and like all women are interesting, interviewing them like at some length, but then not having to distill it down, not having to lose the context because you had to write 1,000 words, Yeah, I can imagine it was tough to do that when you're used to just, let's keep all of that because it's really interesting the way she went to let the cat in. Yeah.
I know, it's just, that was the hardest bit, but at least I've got all the transcripts and I've got, all those sort of things. So, but it was as if anyone has written a book or had to, edit things down. Oh, it hurts. It's really smart. Oh, it's hard. Yeah, I'm glad all the bits stayed in that are there. So that's good.
Right. I really just want to keep talking to you, but I probably can't because we've been going more than an hour and,
Oh, I know. They're the rules. They're the rules.
Yeah, they're the rules. So I'll just ask you the questions that Oh, no, I've just seen a note that I made and I really want to ask you this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll be super quick.
Yeah, then I'll ask you the questions that we always ask and we'll do them quick fire. I made a note about distinguishing peace from boredom. And I just loved that because I think that's something it really took me until my 50s to learn.
Oh my God. It is just that felt like again, the next level in the computer game or finding a new room in your house you didn't know you had. And you went, oh, I want to be in that room. That room's quiet and peaceful. It's not boring. It's healing and delicious, and it's just what my brain and my body and my nervous system needs. I think my big transition about defining success was I thought success was busyness and every day in the diary was full of things and now I'm like, oh, no. A successful day could be being in bed watching maths and, just locking things out and not having all the tabs open. That is bliss. So yes, yeah, in a nutshell.
Right. What's your emotional age?
25?
Why?
Or is it 85? I flip.
Yeah. Give us a book recommendation.
Oh, I love Porna Bell's latest one is marvellous. And I've forgotten the title, and she was on your podcast.
She wanted more.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, it's great. Definitely
Brilliant.
seconding that.
Yeah.
What advice would you give younger women?
I would tell them that they are worth twice as much as they think they are.
Totally. Don't you wish you'd known that?
Oh, God, yes. Why wasn't I as smart back then?
Because none of us are. None of us are.
Youth is wasted on the young.
Oh, I know it's cliche, but it's true.
It's so true.
Who's your old bird role model?
Oh, Jo Brand.
Love her.
Yeah, love her very, very much.
What's your superpower?
Making people laugh when they think they can't and finding the funny in things. Sometimes inappropriately.
How many fucks do you give?
Well, I was going to say none, but I give a few, just a couple.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy The Shift and would like to show your appreciation, why not buy me a coffee? Go to www.buymeacoffee.com/The Shift with Sam Baker. You can hear a new episode of The Shift every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, please do rate, review, follow, tell your friends, because it really does help other people find us. And if you'd like to know more about my own experience of shifting, my book, The Shift, How I Lost and Found Myself After 40, and you can too, is out now in paperback.